So for a couple weeks now, I've been fiddling with a water leak in my furnace. It's spilling water all over the floor, and I thought it was the condensate drain. However, I've cleaned that out. There was nothing wrong with it. I could pour water through it, no problems at all. And with the furnace running, I noticed there was water draining out of this weep hole. However, upon further inspection, I noticed that is not a weep hole. It goes straight through the casting here. It's just a hole in the plastic. They use, when they assemble these things, they just put a bead of silicone around the other half of the clamshell, and the stupid thing is broke down already. This furnace is a year old, so what we're going to do, we've just got a plain tube of automotive silicone, and we're going to put a nice bead all the way around the perimeter here and just slap the two halves back together. So we're just going to get a bead all the way around this thing, and I'm not too worried about getting it very pretty, it doesn't really matter. And I'm just going to go back and kind of just even it out, make sure there's at least silicone on the whole thing. So it's safe to say I have a copious amount of this, definitely more than I need. And we're just going to push the two halves back together. And then I'm going to actually go ahead and, you know what, I don't need to reinstall. Yeah, there's actually two of the bolts, this one here and this one on the other side, that actually kind of clamp the thing together. There are no actual clamps that hold the two halves together. To me that would make sense, but apparently they think it's not necessary. I don't know. I looked, you can buy a new entire draft inducer for like $100. I'm not paying $100 for something that works totally fine. It just leaks because the stupid silicone is shrunk or dried up or whatever it's done. Seems ridiculous to me. I'm not paying $100 when the rest of it is fully functional. Alright, let's go get it reinstalled. And here we are with it reinstalled. So this hole right here is what I was talking about. I thought was the weep hole. And I guess I was thinking of that because of water pumps, like in an automotive setting. They will have weep holes, and that lets you know when the pump's leaking. And I thought this was similar, like somehow water got in here and it wasn't supposed to be. I'm not an HVAC guy, so take everything I've told you with a grain of salt. But it was leaking out of here, and you can see this is all discolored and rusty, and it ran across and then dripped down. Fortunately, it missed the board. The board is straight underneath of it here, and the water came across and dripped down over here. So it didn't drip on anything, didn't really damage anything else. But hopefully now we've got it sealed. It's supposed to, this is the draft inducer motor, and it's supposed to, get the exhaust going up and out the flue over here. Well, you see there's this little drain right here that's supposed to drain all the water down into the trap, which then goes across and out your condensate drain. And this is what I've been fiddling with. The drain over here, I fiddled with the trap, and I kept thinking, why in the world is the water backing up to a point where it has to come out the weep hole? It was only once I removed the whole draft inducer and realized that was not a weep hole that I figured out it had nothing to do with anything except for the fact that this blower housing was not sealed properly and allowing water to come out down there. There should be no water leaking out of anywhere on this draft inducer. It should be blowing moisture out the flue, which then anything that's kind of collected like residual moisture runs back down this drain right here to the trap. That's how it's supposed to function as far as I can tell. Like I said, I'm not an HVAC guy, don't quote me on any of this. This is just how I solved it. It's about 9 o'clock at night. I'm going to let it sit off overnight and turn it back on in the morning, about 8 o'clock or so. I think that should give that silicone enough time to set up and hopefully do its job. So I'll turn it back on in the morning and we'll see if this fixed it or if there's still water coming out of that hole. Well, it's the next morning. This has had about 11 hours to set up, and as you can see, there is no water coming out of this hole. It used to just pour out of there and run across this rusty area like a little stream. So I'm going to call this a win. I don't see it leaking anywhere. I think that old silicone was the whole problem with this thing the whole time. And I just thought that little hole down there was a weep hole, and I chased my tail. And here we are on the other side of the furnace, and this is what should be happening. The condensate line should just be flowing nicely like that, almost a steady stream. It wasn't dripping even half that fast before.